because I do go through senior moments. So welcome back. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. All right. So let me see. What does the body need in order to work?
Energy.
Good. Correct on all counts. It needs sugar, it needs oxygen, it needs to create energy in order for it to work. And so, how do we get that sugar? Through food, through carbs. And that's going to be the key in a little bit. Guys, remember carbs. You guys see me? Hi. Remember carbs. Watch out for those carbs, Miss Vanessa. What are you going to do on Wednesday?
Say what?
What are you going to do on Wednesday?
Log on to class?
No, you got class here.
I wasn't gonna go in person though.
I just remember that. Yeah, you're right. Lucky. All right, so we get our glucose through the foods that we eat, primarily carbs. And so when carbs are broken down, they are sugars, the glucose. Now, how does the body get the glucose into the cell? Through insulin. Because if you remember, the cells, what do we call this, the cell walls? Besides cell membrane. In other words, can just anything go through that cell membrane? No. So we call the cell wall semi-permeable, right? So there's channels that need to open up to allow things to go in and out. And in glucose's case, it's insulin that is required to allow the glucose to get inside the cell to create energy. So the question for everybody is, where does the insulin come from? From the pancreas. Where is the pancreas? Taking over the. I've got it. This was no.
Oh.
I should have you sitting like an altar boy and just holding it up to. Guys, believe me if I told you that Jose's now an altar boy. Joanna's giving me a dirty look like, what? I want to see, let me see. Right, Joanna?
What?
You had a look of disbelief that Jose's an altar boy?
Oh, I don't know.
No, I told him he's going to be like my altar boy. And so I'm like really cautious with it right now. And I keep putting it on the table and stuff. And it's like I've almost dropped it like 2 or 3 times. So I told him he's going to have to sit like an altar boy or stand like an altar boy and hold up like they hold up the Bible for the priest. So he's going to have to sit there like this, like an altar boy.
You should just get him started now. Probably we'll see him at church on Sundays.
Since you won't go to church.
I do go to church.
The purple church?
Yeah.
Don't ask.
Mom baptizing that AP.
I bet you are.
My first communion, I heard.
Oh.
Now, does the brain require insulin to get? No. You dropped something because she's looking.
No, I think you just.
Oh, I can't cook in peace, and I can't eat in peace. No. She's old. She's 11 years old.
Oh, she's 77.
Huh?
She's 77?
Mhm.
Dang, I was right. Okay.
All right. So the brain doesn't need insulin to get sugar. Remember that the brain is very susceptible to changes in oxygenation and glucose. What happens if there's too much sugar in the urine? Or in the blood, which kind of give it away a little bit. It can, we'll get there. It can, because of excess. Another thing about glucose is it tends to draw water towards it as well.
You said glucose?
Yeah. Now, the thing about glucose, excess glucose in urine, is that any excess glucose in the sugar is spilled out into the urine. And so for diabetics or people with high blood sugars, well, diabetics, hey, pensa pra cá. Escomita. Escomita. My dad used to do that with. Is that when the sugar is high, the urine smells like the Sugar Smacks cereal. And you know what they used to do like in the 1800s to see if somebody was diabetic? Huh?
No.
Do you guys know over there? Right over?
Taste it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
they used to drink the urine to see if it was sweet.
Tasty, tasty.
This is something for you while you're eating there, Miss Vanessa.
Oh no. I'm eating my chips with water. I don't need
Not-
sweet.
Not apple juice?
No. No.
Yeah, they used to drink it because the excess glucose is spilled into the urine, and it will smell sweet, like Sugar Smacks. Yes, ma'am.
Can they release like the sweet water?
They will, and we'll talk about that. Yes. All right. And so, as we eat, the body is going to sense an increase in the blood sugar. And as a result, it's going to send a signal to where? To do what? No.
Wait,
To the pancreas?
Okay. When we eat, it's going to, the body's going to detect an increase in the blood sugar level. So it's going to send a signal to where to do what?
Oh, you the pancreas let out insulin?
Yeah. So multiple people were giving the right answer. The pancreas is going to receive the signal, and it's going to stimulate the pancreas to release insulin. All right. Insulin is produced in the beta cells of the islets of Langerhans. That's where insulin is produced. And so that insulin also, not only is it helping the glucose get into the cell, but it's letting the liver get that glucose in there, and it's going to convert it to glycogen. So we have glucose. Can you guys see me writing up here? So glucose. So funny.
She answered your time.
All right. So we have insulin. I'm sorry. We have glucose in the bloodstream. So the pancreas, is going to release insulin. And insulin will allow it to go into the cell. Okay? So we have the glucose level starts to go up. See, I'm not doing good today.
Just sit down and like, I can never see if you do that.
But I can't write. All right, so increased glucose level. Pancreas causes insulin to be released, and then it helps the glucose go into the cell. Now, the other thing that insulin does I don't know if that was meant for me or not. No. No, I'm seeing hand signals, so I didn't know if that was for me. So it's like, I was trying to see where I was at. All right. So
Because we can't really see, I can't really see what you're writing.
There's like a glare on the board.
There's a glare
Okay. Can you put it down a little?
there, like that.
All right, so glucose, pancreas, insulin. The insulin is going to cause the liver to convert the glucose. Can you see that? Glycogen. You see that okay? Okay. What this glycogen is, just think, a savings account. The liver is going to store this glycogen. Now the pancreas can also cause, or can also release, let's go down here. Glucagon. Glucagon is used to withdraw that glycogen and create sugar when the blood sugar level goes down. So again, that glycogen is stored energy, stored sugar to be used at a later date when the body is low in blood sugar. So it converts that glycogen into glucose, and that's via the hormone glucagon. So the pancreas produces insulin and glucagon. Are you guys with me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Like that, I think. Okay. Where'd she go?
She went out there.
Hey, shh, vete.
She went all over.
Le sigues, no te traigo otra vez, chica. Ahí quédate bonita. Okay.
So the glucagon is the hormone that decreases or that is used when there's too much sugar in the blood.
No, glucagon's when there's not enough sugar in the blood.
Oh,
Yes.
So it's like, let's say you have $100 in your wallet right now, or in your purse, and you use up your $100, but you need to get gas or whatever, but you don't like using your card. So you like cash. So you need to go to the ATM to get more cash to be able to keep spending. And so the glucagon is it stimulates the liver to release that glycogen.
Oh, okay.
And now your sugar level goes up.
So it's like what, like for example, when there's not enough, and then it tells like the body to release more.
Okay, so so what if, because that store of glycogen is only, there's only so much of it. So if the blood sugar stays low, what's going to happen to the body? It can. It starts to slow down, right? Because of the lack of glucose to create energy. So what does the body do to get some energy? Yeah, it finds other sources, and the other source, primary source, is fat. Fats. Now, I thought I knew what the keto diet was, but I guess I don't. So the diet that I am familiar with that does really help explain it, unless you're not familiar with it, is the Atkins diet. Are you guys familiar with the Atkins diet?
Sir, is
I'm-
that the one that? Is that the one where you eat? I'm probably gonna say it wrong. Like fatty food.
In a way, yeah. What the Atkins diet is, and are you guys familiar with the keto diet?
I'm not.
I'm not either. I'm just naturally sexy.
I am.
Somebody's choking over here.
Yeah, sorry, I have my Red Bull, my bad. Monster and my Red Bull.
Do you eliminate carbs in those diets?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And what did we say carbs are important for?
Insulin.
None. Insulin is produced by the pancreas
For
to reduce the blood sugar.
sugar.
Yeah. Remember that the body needs the carbs for the sugars. So if you're on one of those two diets that you're eliminating carbs, what are you forcing your body to do? To use fats. Because there's no carbs for energy. And the body is like, I need sugar, I need energy. That 4-year-old again coming out. And so it breaks down fats. Now, as far as, I think it was Ina, you mentioned about eating high fat foods.
Yes, sir.
Because like, I remember, well, not just at In-N-Out, but other places. Anybody ever order a protein burger?
Yes.
Describe a protein burger for those that don't know what a protein burger is.
A lot of carne.
It's bunless,
Flat. Flat burger?
wrapped,
Wrapped with what?
lettuce.
Wrapped in lettuce. Because what is bread?
Carbs.
It's a carb. And so, yeah, now they have the Impossible Burger, the whatever burgers, the meatless burgers. So that's plant-based. So it's mainly for vegans that don't eat animals.
It's not bread.
But again, it's just avoiding the meat, the animal product. Okay. So they wrapped it in lettuce. You avoided the carbs. So people were eating all these burgers it's kind of like ordering a triple Whataburger meal with extra large fries and all that stuff. And you talk Coke. Right? Less guilt. I do that sometimes, and I order my Diet Coke, and I'm like, I just sound like a glutton. but I can't have the sugar. So that's why, yeah, so they were having cholesterol issues. Their sugars were, or their weight was getting better, but they had cholesterol issues. So, all right. So now here's the problem with those diets. What is the byproduct? What is the byproduct of burning fats? Anybody know?
You lose weight?
Well, that's a positive
You lose muscle.
outcome. Eventually, you
Ketones?
will. Ketones. Ketones. The body doesn't like ketones. So what will the body do? We've talked about this. What was that?
No, sorry. That was my bad.
What will the body do to those ketones?
Try to eliminate them
How? You're right. How?
through your urine?
No, not yet. We're not there yet. What was that? I'm sorry?
Through your urine?
No, we're not there yet. Too much sugar will make you pee. Right now, we have a ketone.
This one.
No? The body will try to eliminate it by neutralizing it. So the kidneys will be involved. Because the body looks at it and does create an acidic state. And remember, we kind of talked about it with the renal system, the buffer, the acid buffer system. So it's going to try to neutralize it. So it's going to create, or it's going to release bicarbonate. So like when you have an upset stomach because of all the acid buildup, and you take like Tums or Malox or Pepto, that helps neutralize the stomach acids. So your kidneys are doing that. They're trying to neutralize that acid. Now, what is the byproduct of neutralizing that acid? Yes. What's that? We're not there yet. But yes, that's what's going to happen. So Kayla said ketoacidosis. What does that mean? We're almost there, though. What does that mean? All right. So that's what we're getting at because of all the ketones, the body's becoming acidic. So remember, the buffer systems try to neutralize that. What's up, Mrs. Santana?
Acetic acid? Acetoacetic acid?
Carbonic acid?
Yes. Like what ants produce in their saliva.
Okay. So this is still acid, right? So the ketoacidosis, the ketone levels are causing an acidic state in the body. And we know the body does not like to be acidic. So it breaks it down. And it breaks it down to carbonic acid. Now the body further breaks this down into 2 more substances. So remember, this is by eating high protein, eliminating carbs. Your body needs to find the glucose somewhere else, and it finds it in the fat. And the byproduct of burning fat is ketones. And so we have all these ketones in the body creating ketoacidosis. And so the body wants to eliminate that acid, that acidotic state. So it breaks it down into carbonic acid. And that's, if you can't see it, that's H2CO3. And when we break that down, it breaks down into H2O and CO2. What is that? What's the H2O? It's water. So what does the body do with that water?
Excretes it.
No?
Or absorbs it.
It reabsorbs it. Eventually it will excrete it, but right now it's reabsorbing it. And what's CO2?
Carbon
Carbon
dioxide.
dioxide. And we've already talked many times as to what this body does to excess CO2. When the body detects an elevated amount of carbon dioxide, what does the body do? Makes you what?
Makes you breathe.
Makes you breathe faster, right? To get rid of that excess CO2. Now, there's one more thing on that. So, Vivian, you mentioned about that odor. Remember the ketones? That's in here. So what is their breath going to smell like? Sweet, fruity odor. If you, for people that paint their nails, how do you take off the color, the nail color? Acetone. And what's acetone? It's a ketone. So that's where the smell comes from. Is from the acetone, the ketones in your body.
Is that when they're like already in like a diabetic coma?
We're not there yet, but yeah. You're thinking ahead. So the comment was, or the question was, is that how you get to that diabetic coma? So what I'm gonna answer is yes. It's kind of getting a little bit ahead, but here's what happens. You're hiding. You're too. You should come up here. Be with the rowdy crowd. I know you're all rowdy. I see you on screen all the time, partying it up, whooping it up.
So he's like, can
So too much ketones for the body is not a good thing. And so as we were talking about those diets, that's why people lose weight on those diets, because they're burning fat. Now, let me give you a little bit of background on diabetes. So remember what we've just went over, okay? So here's the thing about diabetes. This is the current thinking. She does that. In my room, I have set up an old pair of pants of mine and an old shirt. And so, so that way she gets my smell. And that's where she sleeps. If not, she'll go underneath my bed. But she'll get up and she'll start puffing it up and doing all this other stuff. But then she's also kind of drag her water bowl or the mat where she has her water bowl and food bowl when she's out of water. Yeah, she'll be like dragging it across the floor. Yeah, she's telling us, hey, dummy, I need some water. She's doing it to my mom too. But I can sheep shoshita. She just barked at you, Sonia. So here's the thing on diabetes. We know that insulin is produced by the pancreas, right? What they think is that in diabetes, the pancreas either, in a way, it doesn't produce enough insulin. Number one. Number two, that insulin is mostly ineffective. Because the way that you need to think about insulin with diabetes and glucose is insulin. She barked at you. The dog.
Kayla did. She's like,
Ooh, I'd smack him for him calling you a dog.
no, that's not what I did.
You know you have to get past her. And Vivian's not gonna bail you out.
What? Well, this one, they complete all the same way with last evening.
Let's say you guys needed a key to get out this door, out of the classroom or the building, whatever it is, but you need a key. And don't try to bum rush the door for everybody to get out with the same key, because that's not gonna happen. Each person needs their own key. But with diabetes, out of 9 of you in here, I only have 3 keys. So how many of you are gonna be able to get out of here tonight? 3 of you. So what about the rest of you? And then the online group, you guys come in on Wednesday. And you're like, whoa, there's 6 of you in here. Plus your 9 or 10. And again, only 3 of you will be able to leave on Wednesday night. So how many people do we have in here all of a sudden? 12, right? And then next Monday, you guys come back, or you guys come back. And again, there's only 3 of you that can leave. Out of 9, there was 6 that stayed. So, no. We're running out of people. Yeah, there's gonna be like 15 of you. So you see how it's multiplying, it's adding up?
Yes.
So that's what happens in diabetes, is because of the ineffective production of insulin and the use of insulin, sugar starts to build up. Yes, sir. Okay. Is that a bad thing for the body? Yes, because it doesn't have enough sugar for the cells. Now, is there enough sugar in the body? Yes. Remember in here how you guys are multiplying, building up? Well, same thing is happening in your body. Not all the glucose is going to go into the cells, so it starts building up in your bloodstream. And remember what I said about glucose and water. Water can also follow glucose. So eventually what happens to your blood is a little experiment. Anybody online and in here, when you're a little kid, did you ever, like, you got some Kool-Aid or lemonade or something and you put a lot of sugar in there? And then when you were done, you had that streak or you had that sugar buildup at the bottom? And wasn't it fun trying to eat that sugar?
Yeah.
That wet sugar, watch it come down and eat that sugar, right? You guys remember that?
Yeah.
No?
Oh, yeah.
with the-
Or cereal too?
with the-
My brother used to do it all the time. Me, not as much, but.
With the Cheerios.
With the dried Cheerios.
So that's what's happening in your blood. It becomes saturated with sugar, and that's what happens in those drinks or the cereal, is that the amount of sugar in that liquid went past its saturation point, that it can no longer dissolve that sugar. And so it stays whole, and that's why that sugar sinks to the bottom, and you have that buildup of sugar at the bottom of the cup or at the bottom of the bowl. And so in your blood, it becomes very thick with sugar. And because of it being a hypertonic solution, what is it going to do to your tissue, or the fluid in your tissue? It's going to take it out. It's going to absorb it, right? And so now we get to initial diagnosis of diabetes. How can you determine someone's a diabetic? You can tell just with the signs and symptoms. What are they? First intruder. But there's three things. Okay? Thirst is one. What about urine? Frequent urination.
Excessive hunger.
Yep. So what do we call that? Medically speaking, what do we call that? Los tres pendejos. No, just kidding. But it is the three P's. The three P's. No, I remember in high school, I took drafting, and the drafting teacher had a picture of this caricature, and he called it Mr. Pendejo. And if you ever did anything like dumbheaded, he'd have you sit in front of Mr. Pendejo for doing a pendejo thing. Huh?
Everybody looked at.
So, yeah. So guys, it's the three P's: polyuria, polydipsia, polyphagia.
What was it?
The three P's.
Polyuria?
It's I'm gonna write it down for you guys. All right, you guys want to take a walk with me?
Yeah.
Can you guys see that okay? Miss Claudia, can you see that? Or you need it closer?
Nah, we can see it.
Yeah, that's fine.
How do you pronounce the last one?
Polyphagia. Is that better? How do you do that? I gotta send my boss a picture because we kind of talked about this, but I didn't quite tell him I was gonna do this. So while you guys are writing that down, and send him a text. What?
Classroom. I feel like I'm reading about more because I'm in
Thanks.
No, like, it's not, wow. Yeah, I feel like I'm like picking it up and standing more notes.
Because you don't have a choice. You can't be quiet.
I know she's on. What are you calling that?
I'll take care of that, don't worry. All right, so we talked about diabetes. We talked about the three P's: polyuria, polydipsia, polyphagia. When I got diagnosed with diabetes, in the span of about 45 minutes, I had like 8 water bottles. My vision was changed. So I made an appointment with the clinic. They did a VGL, and it came out to $4.99. But like, you're diabetic. Congratulations. I won prizes for medicine.
So polyuria means urinating a lot?
Yes. Poly, many, urea, urine. Polydipsia, drinking a lot. Aphasia, to eat, so polyphagia, eating a lot. Yes.
So when you're diabetic and it takes super advanced, like for example, is that why people have like cataract surgery and stuff like that?
It does prolong sugar levels will affect your vision. And not necessarily just cataracts though. Or not really cataract. Cataracts is cloudiness of the lens. So that happens with age.
Oh.
What diabetes does to the eyes is actually affects the optic nerve. And so it kind of starts eating away the optic nerve. All right, so we have the 3 Ps. So elevated sugar levels in the blood. All right. So, why are you peeing a lot? In general, I do thirsty. She's like, why do you want to know why I pee a lot? So why is a diabetic or a new diabetic, or even someone that have blood sugar, going to be peeing a lot? Nose. The water follows glucose. And with a high glucose level. Huh? Well, yeah, you have a high sugar level. So what does that do?
It's trying to get rid of the.
I'm over here with Cecilia. My dad, just to mess with her, she's like, don't bring it up. She used to, or he used to, on TV, whenever there was a dog barking, he'd always put the volume up so she could hear it. Or cats too, or if you go on YouTube and put like cat videos, and she'd go up and, okay, they would hear. So, okay, now for everybody else. So why is a diabetic with high sugar levels peeing a lot? And
Sugar.
My body's trying to get rid of the itch.
I was just gonna say, if the water falls sugar in between.
it brings the water out of the cells, out of the muscles, out of the tissue. So here's a very quick lesson with hyperglycemia, where the blood sugar level is elevated. The signs and symptoms are going to mimic dehydration because it's taking fluid away from the tissues and from the cells. So would the person be dehydrated in that case? What do you think over there?
Yes.
Yes. Now, before I go further,
Sounds like a mimic dehydration.
there's 2 types of diabetics. There's a type 1 diabetic and there's a type 2 diabetic. A type 1 diabetic. Who are type 1 diabetics?
Children or people that are born with it?
It's children, also known as juvenile onset diabetes. Type 1 diabetics do not produce any insulin. They do not, there goes Carlos drinking again. But he's muted. Not produce any insulin. So type 1 diabetics are juvenile onset diabetics, and they do not produce any insulin whatsoever. The bad news about juvenile onset diabetes is they don't live to old age. Back in the 80s and 90s, they were living into their 30s. Now they're getting into their 40s and early 50s. Now, yeah, we can hear you, Ms. Vanessa.
Sorry. I forgot. I thought I was muted.
Type 2 diabetics, on the other hand, see, this is the bad news about being right in front of me. Type 2 diabetics is what they call adult onset diabetes. You guys are gonna be so glad not to be here on Wednesday.
What?
No, we'll miss you.
I know, I actually enjoyed it.
I could take one. No, I don't want to have more than 10 people in here.
You got 9, right? On the other one, so it's split up 9.
Vanessa's supposed to be here today, so it should be 10. Right now, it's 9. She's, I don't remember the numbers. All right, adult onset diabetes. The thing about adult diabetics is, or adult onset diabetes, is that they do produce insulin. Ven, Perushita. Venga, papi. Venga, papi. Venga.
Oh, wait a minute.
She's looking at everybody, making sure everybody's paying attention. I've trained her well. Ven, Perushita. Huele esa perrita. Smells like a dog. All right. So now that we have that established, type 1 diabetics are who? Children. Juvenile onset. And what's the thing about juvenile onset diabetes? They don't produce insulin. And how about you guys over there in internet world? Tell me about type 2 diabetics.
They produce insulin.
And they're not children.
Yes, I am.
I could tell. I'm just
I admitted it earlier. I'm a 4-year-old. Ask any of my former students, they tell you I'm a 4-year-old.
Can you repeat the
What do you
name?
want to know about type 2?
Yes.
Like the name?
What?
Go ahead, Anna.
What did you say? What did tell me about type 2 diabetes? Like
Yes. Summarizing what we just went over.
frequent urination?
No.
What? Like what? Tell you what.
That's with any diabetic. No, specifically type 2 diabetics. What is the characteristic? It's adult onset diabetes. And what were you going to say, Joanna?
That's what I wanted to know, the name.
Yeah, it's adult onset diabetes.
And then the age limit for that, it's like, so, because I know on the juvenile, you said they don't live too long.
Well, they get into middle age.
Okay.
No, with adult onset, it could be however old. My grandfather and my dad lived to be 72. So either I have 24 years left to live, or I have 9 years to live. One of the two.
Thank you.
And what about the insulin production?
They do produce insulin.
There you go. They do produce insulin. So, all right. So now going back to what we mentioned about the diet and about the acid, the ketones. So everything that we described, the buildup of the ketones, right? So the body's going to be breathing faster as a result of that excess CO2, and that's going to smell fruity. We call that, anybody know what we call that type of respiration?
Kussmaul breathing?
Kussmaul breathing, Kussmaul respirations. S-M-A-U-L. Kussmaul respirations.
Oh, wait, R, right? Mark or Mall?
Kussmaul.
Oh.
Maul. That's what she's gonna do if you guys misbehave. She's gonna maul you guys. But they're precious
And Kuzma.
respirations.
That's for both types.
No, I'm just saying the breathing, the rapid pursed lip breathing
Oh.
to exhale that excess CO2 and it smells fruity is Kuzma respirations. I got spit back there when I was inhaling, so yeah. Nobody's paying attention to me. Mother. I'm on the blue one now. All right, so Kuzma respirations, tachycardia, all of that is typical of, actually, I take that back. So somebody was asking about ketoacidosis, and it's what we, somebody came in or something. She was looking that way. Could be. See, animals can sense ghosts. When we're done, I'll tell you a story about that.
Oh, she knows. All right, yeah, that's good.
They will go in here.
She's looking at the door too.
Mhm. Yeah, well, apparently we have a ghost in the room.
What room, that one?
No, in here.
Just chilling.
Loki's.
So everything that we talked about with the respirations, the odor, and all that stuff, that is what we call diabetic ketoacidosis. When the blood ketone levels are really high. Now, the other thing about that is it only happens to type 1 diabetics. Diabetic ketoacidosis, also spelled DKA. D, doggy, K, kiss, A, ass. I'm just kidding. Diabetic ketoacidosis, DKA. Happens to type 1 diabetics. Type 2 diabetics like me, I don't have to worry about it. I go into something similar, but not everything. The abbreviation, don't ask me what it stands for, I always forget what it stands for. But it's HHNK, although your book has a different abbreviation for it.
What'd you say?
Hyperosmotic, oncotic, something, H something, I don't know.
What was the abbreviation?
Mine? HHNK. Hyperosmotic, hyperosmotic, hyper something,
Is it the non-psychotic type?
Yeah.
Smaller?
yeah. It's similar to DKA, but it's for type 2 diabetics.
Oh.
Here's the other thing, guys, everybody, for DKA, a type 1 diabetic, remember that they don't produce insulin. So if their sugar gets up to 200, they can go into DKA. Whereas me as a type 2 diabetic, and I've gotten in trouble with people before, one time my sugar was 600. So, yeah, they were bitching at me because it was so high. It's like, leave me alone. I'm a Mexican male, leave me alone. So telco.
Oh, no, I just mean in general, like Mexican.
Is it because of all the monsters you breathe?
Ask Ricardo to answer that question for you.
Ricardo's like, no, I don't want to.
What's the deal with my monsters, Mr. Ricardo?
Don't give him shit about his monster. He drinks zero sugars. Monster.
Oh, there's zero sugar?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's why they have the weird prints on it.
Sugar, zero sugar.
He said he doesn't give a shit about his sisters.
It's because I'm mellow. Marijuana does wonders. I mean, CBD oil does wonders. You think I went to Arizona just for the hell of it?
And we're over here getting drug tested.
Right.
A teacher.
You know, I've been drug tested so many times.
What's the trigger?
I know.
I ain't telling.
He said monsters, so I can picture it.
Take your neck.
No, just, it was what it was, but that's the difference is my sugar can get up to 600 and not have too many issues other than, and I'll be honest, in the past, way in the past, because I know what some of you are gonna say, one of the things that my elevated blood sugars did was made me very cranky. And a friend of mine, she'd always be like, your sugars are high, aren't they? So.
That doesn't happen.
No, because my sugar is pretty good. I took it yesterday, it was 105. I didn't take it this morning because I was sleeping. And I had to get ready for class real quick, so. But, no, my sugar's been pretty good. My doctor's happy with my numbers right now. It's just my MCTD that's doing me. So the difference there is the type 1 diabetics will go into DKA with a low glucose level, 200, 250, something. It doesn't have to get very high. Whereas a type 2 diabetic and HHNK or non-osmotic, whatever it was, that one, they could literally go 600, 700, 800.
So up to what number or like how high can it get? Like,
The bad thing is all that sugar is damaging the body. So not only is it taking fluid away, but eventually it starts breaking down proteins. So that's why diabetics will lose a lot of weight. One, because they're losing fat, but it's also affecting the muscles. Plus, we talked about vision, the kidney damage. In the kidneys, there's filters, they're called the nephrons. And high glucose levels will damage those filters. Once they're gone, you can't replace them.
is that why people go on their dialysis?
Yes. Yeah, so high blood pressure and diabetics are the common elements that people with renal disease will require hemodialysis.
When it comes into the glucose level, what's like the minimum? Like what's like the average, more or less?
It's hard to say average, it's the normal range.
It
So,
depends on the person themselves? Or
no, it depends, it depends on a lot. Just like we have lab values for everything else with glucose, the normal values, and I always say it depends on the lab, but a good rule of thumb for normal glucose levels is between 80 and 120. Now, for you guys that don't have diabetes, if you eat a candy bar or drink a Coke, your sugar will go up a little bit. It might go over 120, but your body's able to tolerate it. Will release insulin. Remember we said that, and then it will go back down to normal in an hour or so. It's the diabetics that it doesn't go down; it keeps going up. So the normal range of glucose, guys, is 80 to 120.
That's for type 1 or type 2. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if you do like, what if you have like type 2 and then like you exercise or whatever, like they still.
Regardless, if you're exercising, what are you burning? You're burning fat, but you're burning energy. You're needing energy in order to get your muscles to work, right? Well, eventually what's going to happen? You'll deplete it. So if you take insulin or glucose lowering medications, eventually you're going to deplete it. So what do you need to do? Eat to replenish that glucose. Okay. Now, remember those signs and symptoms that we talked about earlier with the dehydration and the DKA? So those are signs and symptoms of hyperglycemia. And we talked about type 1, type 2. But what you got to remember about hyperglycemia, just like dehydration, is it's a gradual process. How's your heart rate going to be? Elevated. How are your skin signs going to be? Are you sweaty? It's the same thing.
Pale?
If you're dehydrated, dry. How about you guys over there? No, you might be a little warm. What else?
You're not pale.
No, you're flushed. So gradual onset and the skins are going to resemble dehydration. Warm, flushed, and dry. Okay. Now, when your sugar is down, don't you need sugar for normal body function? And so, what else have we learned that deals with a low need of the body? What is something else that the body needs? Oxygen. And so what happens, or what does the body do when there's low oxygen levels?
Anaerobic metabolism.
I know what I'm trying to say, but
It's trying to get more oxygen, right?
yeah.
All right, you said it switches over to anaerobic. Okay, but what are the signs and symptoms that you're going to see? Tachycardia? Tachypnea?
Elevated respiration rate.
Tachypnea? How about the skins?
Pale.
Yeah, pale, cold, clammy due to the shunting, right? And what's the onset? In other words, how quickly does that come? Pretty quick. So the way to tell the difference between hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia is that hyper, remember, is a gradual onset with warm, dry, flushed skin. And hypoglycemia is a sudden onset with pale, cool, and clammy skin.
That's hypo.
Hypoglycemia. And then also another way to think about hypoglycemia isn't glucose one of the things the body needs, just like oxygen. And so when the body is not perfusing well because of lack of oxygen, what do we call that? It starts with an S.
Shock.
Shock. And so isn't the same concept apply here with glucose?
Yes.
So is it safe to infer that low glucose level is also going to cause signs and symptoms of shock?
Yes.
So that's what you'll see. Because remember we were talking about, so the question was, what causes diabetics to get their foot amputated? And what happens is, remember we were talking about the elevated glucose levels? It not only damages nerves, but it also damages blood vessels. And so it decreases circulation to those areas. And so with a wound, it gets infected a lot easier because of the decreased blood flow. The immune system's not getting down there to fight it off. So that infection spreads and it causes gangrene of whatever tissue. So basically that tissue's dead.
So that's why it's very, like the diabetic speak, like that's why it's very, what's the word?
Common.
Yeah,
No.
like you can't really,
It depends on the sugar level, but like my feet are numbed. I have what they call neuropathy. And so that's one of the I'm kind of a complex individual. So I have neuropathy, but I also have mixed connective tissue disease, which is an autoimmune disorder. So the neuropathy causes me to feel the pains like you saw me earlier here. Sometimes I get in my hands, in my feet. But then the other thing, the mixed connective tissue, is my body is attacking my connective tissue. My ligaments, my tendons, my cartilage. And so I'm not as strong as I used to be. I mean, I could pick up little old ladies with one arm on the gurney. Just without a sweat. Nowadays, it's like I can't even pick her up without, I drop her. Alexia. So,
What was the scenario? Like, let's say you're diabetic and then you step like on something and you cut your foot. Like, what happens then?
it all depends. Actually, it happened to my dad twice. He stepped on a nail. He didn't realize it. At night, he took off his shoe and then the sock, and he noticed that there was blood. And he looked at the shoe, and there was a nail in the shoe. So he had to go to the hospital and get antibiotics, and he needed more antibiotics. So he was actually in rehab in a nursing home for like 2 weeks while he got IV treatment.
So you develop an infection?
Yeah, remember there's poor circulation to the area, so it doesn't heal as fast.
And the foot's the only area, or is it like other parts of the body?
I'm sorry?
Is it just the foot only, or is it like all over the body?
It depends on what's being affected by that. So like my feet, yeah. Diabetic feet are very
Would
sensitive,
it be
very sensitive.
more the feet because like it doesn't circulate all the way down it?
Correct. Yeah, it's the distal areas first that can get damaged because they're smaller vessels, so that they're easier. They're damaged a lot easier. So, are you guys hearing the conversations? So there are questions on amputations to feet and circulation and stuff, and like stepping on a nail. So they might not feel it at all. So yeah, diabetics have to be very, very careful with the feet and the legs. So I get those tests every year, which I'm starting to suck more and more at. That's why we're 23 and a half more years or 9 years. Because there's a 20% fatality rate for people with MCTD. Or 20% of the people that are diagnosed with MCTD die within 10 years.
What's that?
The autoimmune disorder that I have. So, I'm a pessimist, so I'm not like 80% people live. I'm like 20% of the people die. what else? You guys have any questions?
No, sir.
Nope.
No, sir.
All right, so you show up. Actually, before I do that, and you guys already learned how to do glucose levels, so I'm not too worried about that. Talked about hypoglycemia. You guys know about oral glucose, indications, contraindications. We talked about hyperglycemia.
I have a question on the oral glucose. Do
Uh-huh.
I have to finish the whole food?
Yes. So first off, don't ever assume that someone's intoxicated. Hypoglycemia can mimic intoxication. Well, hyperglycemia too, but there might be a medical reason as to why they're acting the way they are. So don't ever assume that someone's intoxicated or they're under the influence of drug or alcohol. All right, always do a thorough assessment, including BGL. Okay.
My bad, I'm sorry. That's a good stretch.
All right, so you guys respond out for a person down. So what are you guys going to be doing? So you show up at scene. Okay, you did scene safety. So walk me through your assessment, your interaction with this patient. He's laying supine. What do you think, Carlos?
Well, he is like in the situation that he's diabetic, right? Or like, I mean,
I don't think I understood that. What was that again?
okay, so you're trying to do an assessment, and well, the first thing is he unconscious or conscious?
I don't know. That's what you have to establish. We're not there
Well,
yet.
first you look at the alert aid. If he's looking at you, if he's conscious, let's say he is.
Okay, so establish level of consciousness, and then
You start your primary assessment.
you're already in the primary assessment.
Okay.
So then you gather your chief complaint, and then you move on to Ricardo. No, before that.
And then you move to what?
So he was saying check for breathing, and I said before that. And then he mentioned airway.
Well, if
So-
he can talk, the airway's already out of the question. No?
Okay, so that could really take care of A, B, and C, right?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Dillon, if he wasn't responsive, how would you open up the airway?
I put an OPA.
Okay, but before you insert the OPA, how would you open up the airway?
Did he fall or anything?
I don't know. He's.
Then I'll do the draw thrust just in case if he fell.
Good job. All right. So if he's talking to us and he's talking like this. So, what do you think? Could you hear me? So he's like this, and he's, oh, dear, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go home. So what do you think? So they're saying here ABCs are good, right? So you look at them, and you're outside 7-Eleven. So you're outside at 7-Eleven. So what do you think? Well, he's talking, so you know he has a pulse. Check his sugar. Do you want to be looking for any type of track marks or any type of booze?
Yeah.
Or something that caused it? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to be looking for signs of trauma?
Yes.
Okay. Now, back up a little bit for circulation, or you said pulse, right? And that's a part of what part of the assessment? Let me rephrase it. It's part of the primary assessment. So when you get to see circulation, what is it that you're looking for specifically? I'll give you first crack. All right. So Ricardo's saying that we check the pulse rate. So what part of the pulse are we looking for? Or what components of the pulse are we looking for? There's three things, three components. Oh, I can't wait to stand and deliver with you. Huh? There you go. Rate, rhythm, and quality of the pulse. So now for you guys, what's something else we're going to look for in circulation?
Skin signs?
Skin signs. And so if you find pelvic and diaphoretic, what are you thinking about?
Hypoglycemia?
Which one?
Hypoglycemia?
Hypoglycemia. And if you find them dry, warm, and flushed?
Mm,
Hyper.
hyper.
Hyper. Okay.
What you said
All right.
flushed?
Yeah, flushed is red.
Yes. Okay. No, I just thought warm, pink, and dry.
Nope, not warm, pink, and dry. All right, so you do BGL, and the BGL is 48. Okay, so Jose is saying that it's low and to give him oral glucose. Is there anything you want to determine before you give him that oral glucose? Okay, if he could swallow and. Okay. Yeah, remember, usually to give
Swallow
glucose.
and obey commands.
What was that?
Obey commands.
Okay. So let me finish with Brisa here. So it's a known diabetic or suspected diabetic or suspected hypoglycemia. So we can kind of go there, but we had the low level. So obey command, what's the command we want them to be able to obey? So they have to be able to protect their airway and obey command, but what do we want them to be able to do to make sure?
Hold it.
Gambling there, buddy. So keep expanding. Yep. Remember, you want to put it in their hand. If they can hold on to it, then they can protect their airway. They know enough to go clear that airway. Okay. What else? All right, what if you give them the glucose and I wake up, or you give me the glucose and I wake up? What are you gonna do next?
Wait a couple of minutes and then check glucose levels again.
Okay. And glucose levels 112.
So it's back to normal. That's good, no?
Okay. And then what? Okay. Okay. Okay, so transport was mentioned. So you guys gonna transport me? You guys gonna transport? Yeah? Will you loan me your phone so I can call an attorney and I can call the cops?
What do you mean?
And if he agrees to it, then that's what we can go ahead and transport.
See, he
What
doesn't. Hey, Claudia, my doggy doesn't like Jose. She's growling at him. Yes. I should have her on more often to keep him in line.
He doesn't even want to talk.
What's that?
Ay, Preciosa, te voy a comprar un regalito, verás, por eso. So, did you guys check his mentation level? Boy, it can, yeah, but remember, he was altered at first, right? Or he wasn't completely with it. So now that his glucose is normal, give him the option. All right, you're feeling better. Do you want to go to the hospital and get checked out? So get consent. I'm going to tell you that most diabetics, after the sugar comes around, they'll be like, nope, I don't want to go. And it's okay. Just tell them, hey, don't forget to eat. So with that said, so I'm a diabetic on insulin. So when I eat, what happens? Well, my sugar's going to increase, but because of the insulin, it's going to level out. And usually, this happens to me frequently. Usually, when I wake up in the morning, I give myself my insulin. But sometimes I'm not eating breakfast till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Low glucose, right? Or what if I'm at work at Sierra Blanca and I haven't eaten yet, and I'm like, I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna start cooking, and then a call drops. A call takes me 4 hours, or it can, and I have that insulin in my body. What can happen to me? My sugar goes down. So that might happen. Get a history. Whenever there's bystanders, family, neighbor, somebody, ask them. Or if the patient is able to answer questions, ask them. Did you take your medicine? Did you eat? Did you not eat enough? Or what about more physically active than normal? If I eat the same steak and eggs every morning, although I don't eat eggs, but if I were to eat the same meal every single day and shoot up the same amount of insulin every single day. But today's different. I actually was more physically active for whatever reason. I run out of energy before I eat again compared to normal. Yes. So can I become hypoglycemic as a result of that?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Now we talked about with hyperglycemia, how it's gradual. Now the other thing too, while we're on gradual, that will elevate the blood sugar level is infection. So have they been sick? Stress. I used to eat more and smoke more when I was stressed, but now I just smoke more. I quit smoking. Except for the vape. No, I'm not smoking again. I thought pack of cigarettes set. No. I bought a pack Saturday and I finished it yesterday. About 36 hours. It all depends on how active I am. If I'm really busy, but if I'm bored, I get bored very easy. Yeah, I'm like running it down. I'm trying to stretch out a little bit more, but think about what else. So just ask history. Are they on insulin? Are they on the meds? Are they compliant on their meds? Have they been sick? Have they been more active than normal? Feel the skins. That will give you a lot of information. And I'm telling you right now, for quizzes and exams, if it deals with a diabetic, if it gives you the skins will tell you which way to go down, whether hyper or hypo. Remember, the normal range is 80 to 120, give or take. Some places will say 100, some 105, some 120, but you're safe if you go between 80 and 120. Because if my blood sugar in the morning is 110 or 115, oh my gosh, hyperglycemia, no. I'm like, damn, that's a lot. I mean the vibration mechanism on your phone. Get your mind out of the gutter over there.
Don't look at me, I was laughing.
All right. I can't see anything else. Is there anything else that you guys see that we need to go over? Diabetes is pretty simple, where the pancreas is not producing enough insulin or no insulin at all. And it affects the cell's ability to get that sugar inside of it in order to burn it up for energy. Okay. Too much sugar in the body can damage the body. Too much sugar will be a gradual onset, and eventually it becomes acidic to where the body needs to break down all that acid, and we will see a result of that. Okay. If there's not enough sugar, then the body's also going to tell us, but it's going to tell us a lot quicker because of the fact that it needs glucose in order to function. And remember, the brain needs it. So it becomes a little bit more important. Go over the home medications for diabetes. There's a lot of new ones out on the market, but it's being able to recognize some of these medications to know that a person's a diabetic. Okay. So, get a BGL, assist with glucose if need be. Now let me ask you a question. If you don't know whether the person's hyperglycemic or hypoglycemic, can you give them glucose anyway?
No. It has to be if it's less than 7.
What do you guys think over there?
It doesn't matter, another one how higher.
What do you think, Miss Joanna?
No?
What do you think, Miss Marisela? What do you think, Miss Aina?
I say yes.
What do you think, Miss Claudia?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know.
So it's always better to be safe than sorry. The biggest thing here is, can they hold it in their hand? Can they protect the airway? If they can't, then yeah, definitely we're not going to do it. Now, can we put some on a tongue depressor and put it between their cheek and their gum? Because we're not giving it to the back of their throat. We're not having him suck on it.
Oh, okay.
We're putting it right there between the cheek and the gum and letting it absorb that way. Okay? If their sugar is low, will that glucose help?
Yes.
If their sugar is high, is it going to hurt?
Yes. That's exactly.
Yeah. I mean, so it's going to go up higher.
So
You're not going to damage them even more. They're already damaged to begin with. And once they get to the hospital, they'll give them insulin and they'll bring that sugar down. It's fluid. So yeah, if you're unsure, just be very careful with it. And again, are they able to protect their airway? I think that's the biggest thing. Okay. If they can't, then don't do it. If they can, give them some, see if that helps. As you start waking up, then give them the tube. But if you don't know, it can help, can't hurt. But again, if you don't feel comfortable with it, then don't. Diabetes calls are fairly easy. All right, you guys have anything over there?
No, sir.
Nope.
Is there anything else? Why is it over everything here and probably?
I still am reluctant to have people in here. Like the next classes right now, I'm thinking, and it all depends on what happens, but I'm thinking of doing it online again. Not because I want to stay at home, but.
Hey, Lou.
Yes, ma'am.
So how, right, at work, 2 of my drivers have just, have COVID. And, well, I work for a trucking company, right? I didn't come close to them or anything, but, are we still gonna, like, how is this class thing gonna be working? I mean, if everybody's like exposed at the end of the day, we're all gonna get it, or how does it work?
No.
It sounds ugly, right? But you know, I'm just being honest.
I mean, it's like any other virus that's out there, is that there's a possibility of exposing others in a lot of ways. Surfaces, direct contact, sneezing on their face, coughing on their face, different things like that. Um, we're maintaining social distancing in here. If you notice, everybody's about 6 feet apart. It's one person per table. For the most part, they're like in the center of the table. The afternoon class, they were like not in the center of the table. They were like on the sides. You disinfect the tables. Oh, that's one thing you guys are gonna have to do since Miss what's her name has already been here, and there's a afternoon class. Is we have paper towels somewhere? Yeah, there's paper towels there. We have disinfectant. Oh yeah, there's a rag. So make sure you spray down your chair and your table. Put the chair up, so that way we make sure everything's clean. But as I've done with others, is if you're unsure if you've been exposed, or if you might have been exposed, or you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to come to class. You don't have to come to class. So I'm not going to force anybody to come in that can't or won't. Okay.
No, I mean, like, I want to go, but I just, I don't want, the reason that I'm bringing it up is because people at work are asking the same question that I'm asking, but when it comes to work, and well, the way I see it is at the end of the day, I mean, like, if we're going to get it, we're going to get it, right?
Not if you take precautions. As long as you wash your hands, wear your mask, minimal interaction with outside people, it should be fine.
Even interaction with like people within your own family. Like in my case, my dad has it, and we all live in the same house, but luckily like he isolates in his room and we don't like come close with him. But it's still scary because you're not out running around doing anything, but like still there,
Yeah.
So then it just reiterates like practicing the social distancing, wearing the masks, and always washing your hands, even around your immediate family.
So, like I said, it's really a matter of making sure that you're following guidelines to stay safe. So, personal preference. Thank you. Is that blank?
Yeah, that one's blank.
Can you grab that for me?
Yeah. It's like the one and there's the.
So yeah, you decide if you want to come in or not. I'm not forcing anybody to come in. If you do though, understand that there is a waiver you have to sign in order to stay. You will get your temperature check. There is a pre-screen that you have to fill out saying that you're not feeling sick. If you are feeling sick, then just don't come in.
On my situation that I told you today.
What was that?
About when I was telling you today.
You were coming in today, but you felt sick?
Remember I told you that that I asked you about the what is it? My sinuses and all that?
Yeah. Yeah, if sick for any reason, just don't come in. And that should be even before COVID. People is like, oh, I'll be fine, I'm gonna go. Well, now you're giving other people the flu. But nowadays it's kind of like, oh, COVID, you're gonna die from it. No, I don't want to be exposed. You can die from the flu. I mean, I really want to live a long time. So I do take precautions. I've got my pneumonia shot. I get my flu shot. As soon as they come out with a COVID shot, I'm gonna get my COVID shot. I take my medicines, eat my vitamins, say my prayers. So hopefully I'll last a long time. I just mess around about the amount of time. I'm thankful for every day, and every day is a blessing. But I know it's like, I'm still talking here.
I know, that's why I was like,
So, it's personal choice, personal preference. But, the guys in here liked it, so I hope you guys do too.
All right.
I mean, they liked it so much, they want to ditch me already. Look. Look at them. Look at that.
Well, I go all day.
But anyway, so, do you guys have any questions on anything?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No.
So, did you learn about diabetes today?
Yes, sir.
About seizures? So you guys will be ready for seizures, not seizures, on diabetes on Wednesday?
Will be what?
We'll be ready for a quiz on diabetes on Wednesday?
I hope so.
All right, guys, I'll shut up. I'll let you guys be. Have a wonderful evening.
You too, sir. Thank you.
And I will
All right,
see
bye,
you guys.
guys.
Yes, sir. Bye.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
All right, Mr. Lu, enjoy your night. Be safe. All right. Sonia, your chair.